Corla, almost 2/3 of people in Ireland are to cut back on food spending over cost of living crisis. Working families skipping meals as demand increase at food banks. Food shopping drops as grocery inflation reaches 9-year peak. 62% cutting food spending as prices rise. People putting rent ahead of grocery spend as 350,000 people impacted by food poverty. Almost 1 in 5 people living in poverty amid cost of living crisis. And that is just some of the headline after headlines that we are seeing, and those are just from the last 4 days. We are in a situation today in Ireland in 2022 on one of the richest countries on the planet, and we have people, families and workers who are cutting back on eating. They're cutting back on food, and you actually have to just sit back for a second and think of the implications of that, of households, of families, of workers who are getting up in the morning, who are paying their taxes and who are choosing to go without and who have no choice but to cut down on actually eating on a daily and a weekly basis. And it is a great shame in this day and age that that is the point we are at right now today. Research published today from Kantar shows households are cutting back on the amount of food that they are buying. We know that grocery inflation is at its highest level in almost 9 years. Prices in supermarkets have rose 5.5% in the last 12 months, and this is the highest rise since August 2013. Coinciding with that is a fall in take-home grocery sales of 6.5% in the last 12 weeks. And that shows us clearly that people are already cutting back, and the situation is due to get worse as inflation continues to rise. And these figures reflect data from the CSO which we have seen, which shows staples like milk, bread and cheese, which have all risen in the last year. We saw an organiser of a food bank in Dublin today. They're saying that they're seeing record demand. They're seeing full-time workers who are skipping meals and who are visiting food banks, with demand for their food bank in Dublin having doubled in recent weeks alone. We've seen research from Permanent TSB showing that over 60% of people feel they will have to cut back spending on food in the coming year due to the cost of living crisis. And we also know that CSO data has shown that groceries will cost an extra €780 over the next year. This is on top of increases in the cost of diesel, petrol, electricity, oil, gas, childcare, rent. The list goes on. And when it comes to poverty, we have a real problem in this state, and it is a problem that is growing. Recent SELC data published by the CSO earlier this month shows an increase right across the board. Consistent poverty, at risk of poverty and deprivation has increased for those aged over 65 and for people with a disability. These are alarming increases. We know deprivation is up for lone parent families to 44%, and these families, of course, already experience sustained consistent poverty rates. We saw a report yesterday from Social Justice Ireland showing almost 1 million people in Ireland are living in poverty. And it is quite incredible and shameful to think that that is the situation we are in. And no matter what the government say, and you'll tell us the budget from 8 months ago and everything else, it hasn't been enough. And we've welcomed what's been done so far where we can welcome it, and we acknowledge that. But this motion here tonight seeks a cost of living cash payment. We need to put money into people's pockets, and we need to do it as quickly as possible. And I hope that you'll be able to support this motion.
Very much, Deputy.